I'm actually a really good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And if my intention is to make people call their close ones, and I was like, man, I have this in me. I was like, why am I not showing this more instead of well, you crossed me, things are going to go bad.
Yeah, it's how dangerous I can be.
And it's just like, it's disgusting because in Stoicism, they also teach you the most disgusting emotion is anger.
Mm-hmm.
That's the weakest emotion. So basically, when I thought I was strong, I was weak all those years. That also pisses me off as an Italian. No.
There's irony for you right there.
Right,
That's the definition.
No, but so, and then so then doing this play, what I realized, because I talk about how my life is great, how I moved across, from Montreal across the continent with my wife and beautiful kids, and it's been a struggle, working as a waiter and everything. But I'm doing it with no attachments. Like I did not come here to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I came here for the ride.
Welcome to Far Out Faust, everybody. This is the official Georgia edition and the new season of Far Out with Faust. I'm excited to be having you guys on. I'm excited to be joined by my friend Guido Cocomello, who is officially the first stand-up comedian / actor that I am gracing my show with. Let me tell you about Guido and what he's been up to. Incredible guy. He's born and raised in Montreal, although he's living in LA. Him and I, full disclosure, we met over 20 years ago now in New York City when we both trained with the late, great Academy Award winner, Mike Nichols, in his masterclass at the New Actors Workshop in New York City. So we spent a full year in conservatory together. And here we are. Guido, thank you so much for being in, brother. This is awesome, man.
This is crazy. You said 20 years. I was like, man, it will be 21 this October.
Damn.
21 years that we met. It was right a month, like a few weeks after 9/11. Remember?
Literally, it was because we didn't even know if we were going to go when 9/11 happened. And
I was in Canada. I remember that day. I was supposed to drive because I grew up in Montreal, so I just had to drive to the border, to New York State, to the U.S. border, which is 45 minutes away, to pick up my visa.
Yeah.
And I woke up and my mom was like, "I don't think we could go," and we were just like, "What?" I'll never forget that day. Yeah, I'm gonna pick up my visa to go there, man. But 21 years ago we met, dude. It's amazing. Look at this. This did not exist. 21 years ago when we met each other, it was like, give me your house number. Remember? And look at us. You're interviewing me. You're in Georgia. I'm in Orange County. Dude, just picture this when we met. And now compared to this is amazing, man. Amazing.
It's crazy. Technology. My God, man. Dude, I was looking for some pictures. I was going through some of the old pictures that, the ones I could find online. And even those are, that was right when headshots were still black and white at that time.
Oh yeah.
And so the pictures I found were I was like, damn, this looks like a fucking Polaroid somebody scanned.
Yeah. The headshots. I really wish I would have kept more of my old black and white headshots from when we were younger, because I think my kids saw one the other day, we were cleaning up and just like, Daddy, what do you look no color? And it was all serious and no color. I was like, why is it so big with no color? I don't get, they didn't get it.
This is how pictures used to be. Okay.
But also it's not even why it's not on your phone. Why is it loose? Why is it loose like a paper?
Why do you have this 8x10 cardboard thing here in a box?
It's so big.
Yeah, man.
That's amazing. They
don't even use those anymore, Guido. They don't even send those. You can't bring them anywhere. No one wants them anywhere. They're literally garbage now.
I definitely have 100 that I printed for some reason.
Yeah, no, me too. I think I just threw half of them out. I was like,
and
definitely
they're like, no, you keep it. We're like, okay, why are these businesses still? Why are they still existing? They're still thriving. They're like, no, trust me, you're going to need them.
Thank you for bringing it, but you can keep it. I'm like, oh,
it's funny. But anyways, so one day, hopefully I'll sign and give them away.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, sell them. So, my God, man, that was such a long time ago. I'm trying to figure out where to start with you. And I was just thinking about how different we both were. 21 years ago, and how, we just started talking again, and it was just total synchronicity. I think that kind of put us on the phone together, and then we started to learn that we had both kind of taken a more conscientious path, and started to become a little more, I guess, spiritual in nature would be a good way to say it. And it was so awesome. I remember that first phone call I had with you, man. It was like catching up, and it was just so crazy how we were on the same page. I mean, we're both Italian, of Italian descent. So we're both like, I feel like we have a lot of things that have always been on the same page. But if you asked me 21 years ago if that was going to be one of them, I would have bet the house that it wouldn't have been.
Dude, I agree. I mean, I could speak for both of us. I would think is like being Italian and male growing up. Yeah. It's just imagine what we heard, what we've been around, and how that influenced our behavior. I mean, just me, God. I mean, I'm just even being a comedian and an actor, just the ego to even need to do both. But it's also the insecurity and it was a mixture of both.
So many things.
Yeah, that it was more of a before, instead of I used to call it spiritual path, but I was like, first it was like, I call it remember Superman 3 when he's battling with him, like the bad Superman and the good Superman, where that trash at the dump where they where they smash cars, where they
and he's drunk, and that one version of him is drunk.
You're right, one version of him, like that. It's kind of like, I don't know what it was. I don't know. I mean, obviously having kids, when you have children, and for me, when things are more important than you, then you're kind of like, but still, it's not like I got it right away. It's just, through mistakes, through thinking of, me growing up, how I was raised and what I didn't like about certain things. And then when you start thinking about, man, I wish my kids don't go through this period that I went through, and anger and rage. Then you start thinking, man, why did I go through that? So, so it's almost like me wanting to teach them, I end up self-analyzing. Why did I go through that in a calmer space? Because it's so foreign to me. It's 20 years ago. So I'm not attached to any of those emotions, any of those arguments, any of those people, teachers. So you could look at it from afar and be more, and really dissect it. And in the end, always it's me. Most of the time, it's me being affected by a thing that someone said that ended up not even being true, or I ended up making the story bigger than it actually was. Anyways, it always ends up being me, or misunderstanding, overreacting, and also choosing to make that thing important. So every time I would go through this, always by hoping to teach my kids a certain lesson, I'd be like, oh man, because I don't want them to go through years of this. And then I'm like, always go back to the same thing. And then I started thinking about, man, what is this about? Well, and then you start reading books and this, and I got into Stoicism. And then, it first happened when I contacted you, I think, was our mutual respect and for Joe Dispenza.
Yes.
Because I read his book and I was blown away. Supernatural.
Becoming Supernatural, great book.
And that's when I saw you talking about it, and that's when I contacted you, and we started talking about the same kind of things. And then, and it's amazing how one thing would lead you to this person, and then I was led to
synchronicities, man.
Tolle, and then all of a sudden you're from Eckhart Tolle, then you're into Wayne Dyer, and who knows, and it's everybody. But in the end, it's always the same thing. Now I'm big into Stoicism. Ryan Holiday. I read the Daily Stoic. I have the Daily Stoic every day, where it gives you a daily Stoic meditation with explanation.
Oh, cool! I gotta check it out.
Listen to Daily Dads on Spotify. It's a 5-minute, 4-minute podcast he does for dads.
Oh, nice, dude!
It's just 4 or 5 minutes, and it's like how to do the most important job in the world is being a dad.
Hell yeah.
I mean, being a parent, but this is specific for dad. It's specific for dads, because we're men. We obviously get over emotional, and we're the ones that, you know,
Italian,
women are more
docile.
Yeah, women are more. I mean, women, they don't have our psychotic issues, like, you know what I'm saying. So it's like,
in general, they don't. Yeah,
they don't. So we really, I think, affect the kids more than the moms. Because moms, most of them, it's rare you hear somebody had a crappy mom. Like, it's mostly the crappy dad, or like my dad was always yelling, or it's a lot of issues with, you know.
Totally.
It's just a great podcast. It's just, yeah. So I really got into that, and it's all the same thing. It's always about, like, all these things are about intention, and you decide what you let affect you, period.
Yeah.
You decide what to let affect you. Like, you really,
consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, and when you start thinking that way, it's amazing how you can see things happening, and you're like, oh, this is gonna, like, the whole, hate to bring it up, pandemic thing, or mask thing, or whatever issues. When you're like, when you see one side, regardless, you're like, this is gonna cause, and you already know what's gonna happen next. You're like, oh man, this is gonna go here, and
it's
then
a
it's gonna go
blessing
there,
and a burden.
and you see it, because I see it in my kids, and it's like this. I think it's the same thing. It's just, it's an energy that you're like, this is gonna cause this. It's gonna cause. Because it's all emotions, which is basically energy in motion. It's just, and that's what I've learned mostly from this process of trying to get more spiritual, or just be more conscious. I think that's the best word you said. Like, just be more conscious, because that's in the end what.
I mean, that's what we're doing here, you know.
Right. And in the end, it's really, once you take emotions out of any decision, anything, I'm telling you, it's bliss.
It's huge, dude.
It's huge, but as it's hard, as you know, Italians, it's the emotion. That is what we live on. But I feel it. I feel, you know, a lot of the great things that happened in my life lately, out of the blue, it's because I didn't say that thing that could have ruined this relationship, that then got me this and that and that. Like, it's really my. It's funny to me how many things I feel I'm attracting simply because of me not talking.
Dude, it's
You know
incredible how true, you know. Look, but
right.
by not talking, you're not putting up any roadblocks. So the universe, you know, it's sending you what you want and what's coming to you all the time. But we put our foot in our mouths in ways that we can't even imagine. If we could see the tapestry, you know, from a higher perspective, we would see all the times that we did that. And
right.
For most people, you know, hopefully most of the time that's just a delay, and then eventually something comes around but it's not right then and there the way it could have been. And it's all because you just couldn't, you know, you had to go ahead and say something about that. You couldn't just let it be peace, you know.
And in the end, why did I, talking about me, but I'm sure the same way, why did I have to say something? Ego, because I gotta get, you have to know I'm smarter than you,
right?
Better than you.
Or I have ego. To plant the seed ego.
That when you go home, you're like, that guy's good. And now it's like, I don't care.
No,
I'm not here to win anything. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, dude. I mean,
I just want to be a great dad, and
that's it.
Hopefully lead by example. I think that's the best way, because, you know, I'm the way I am, not blaming again because I've learned, but because of watching my dad.
Right. No, I understand. I'll tell you a funny story. Quick story. I left my kids with my parents for about a week. It was the first time I left them with my parents, you know, that long.
How old are your boys?
8 and 11.
Okay.
And then my parents brought them to our new place in Georgia. We just, you know, there was so much to do, and my parents had been looking forward to getting them away from us for their whole lives. And, you know, they weren't, I needed to make sure that their constitution was intact, you know, but also that my dad brought my kids back, and he says to me, he's like, hey, these kids are really good. You know that? Did a good job. They're nothing like you. I'm like, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I guess I lucked out.
Thanks, Dad.
Yes.
Dad, you're like, I gotta go read more Joe Dispenza books.
Yeah. No, it's you know, I mean, I hear my dad tell my kids he loves them more times in 10 minutes than I've heard in 10 years. But you know what? It just fills my heart with joy. I don't have any kind of, because he has to express that love. You know what I mean? He lived his life. He had a, he didn't have an easy childhood. And that has to come out, and that's healthy. So listen, I understand.
Your dad, I know where your dad gets that from. I could tell you right now, because my dad was the same way until the end of, he passed away. It'll be 10 years this September 8th, actually. And he passed away a week before our wedding, while we were in our pre-honeymoon in Italy together. And he just turned 61. And that year, he was more, I love you, I wish I had, but he never, is because of this. And your dad the same way. If they're Italian, their parents are even older school Italian. That, my grandfather used to say, like, what the old men, Italian men, like, this is an expression he used to say, is like, you kiss your children at night. So you don't show it's more like, so if you grew up not having that, you don't know how to show that. Right. And I think people like me and you grew up in a time where people were starting to show it, where other parents were starting to show their dads. Yeah. We're starting to show affection to their kids. And we were like, what? You mean your dad doesn't?
You mean, wait, your dad doesn't beat the shit out of you?
Which belt to use? Like,
yeah, exactly, dude. Like you must come from a fucked up family.
I mean, listen, it's nothing bad. I mean, my dad, he provided everything, and he definitely loved me. There's no doubt. But like you said, I think it's hard, and it's also kind of like, because I try to see things like consciously, I also have to put myself every time and every person from their perspective. Like, I really try to take myself out. Like, for example, you're reading all these books. I forget, it's like, you're driving and someone cuts you off. Instead of yelling, what if they're cutting off because, God forbid, their son got into an accident at the hospital? You don't know. No. So it's like, yeah, man, that energy you send is going to come back at you. Like, you got to be, so you can't just, so I try to think about it that way. Like, my dad, because, immigrants, it was tough. And also, I mean, the old days, you just didn't show affection. Men did not show affection.
Yeah, no, and they had no role model. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
it's important, man.
They had no role models. My dad didn't have a role model that was showing him affection. He used to tell me all the time, you're lucky my father didn't close his fist, and I felt lucky at the time, and I still do, because that's a sincere remark he made. But he's saying that he is slightly evolved,
But I think that is evolved. I mean, think about it, from that generation to that. That's something. I mean, because I know other people that didn't get even that.
I know, exactly.
So I know it's weird to say that, but could they have been more like, quicker, kind of like we're doing it? We're kind of like, I think we could skip a few steps here, because you're kind of going slow motion, dads. Yeah.
Well, I think that many, and now, you see kids, I mean, it's amazing, the vulnerability that is being fostered more and more, and, I think our generation, we didn't come from that. That was beaten out of most of us, especially if you're from Italian American or Italian Canadian family. Very typical. The culture is, very much along the same wavelength, and look, you don't know what you don't know. That's the parental paradox, right? I thought it was totally normal, and that I was my dad still says you were a bad kid. I know you got lucky with your kids. I'm like, I know better now, but you don't know what you don't know. So, and every parent is working with what they were given, the programming they got growing up. Right. And once you realize that, it's like, I think you have to forgive, and there's so much power and healing in forgiveness.
I agree. And also, and like I said, if you take everything from a bird's eye view, I forgot which one of the Stoics said it. I don't know if it's Epictetus or if it's Marcus Aurelius. Like, try to look at things from the bird's eye view, because then let's go even further than that. What was on TV back then? John Wayne. Think about it. Mm-hmm. 2 channels, Bonanza, more of John Wayne type. Like they had 3 shows, guys kicking butt. What was baseball, hockey, like, the Steel Curtain? Like, you understand, like, Mean Joe Green, like it was so Mike Muhammad, all like it was just it was just,
yeah.
Now and even for someone like me and you, that I call us exennials, like we're exennials. So I think we're the greatest generation because there's a hub of us that are born within 6-7 years of us. Mm-hmm. That we're the ones that are the old and the new, and we get it from both ends. Mm-hmm. I really think that, and we learned the internet in our so we know that old world really well, mm-hmm. and we're learning and know this new world really well. And obviously, we're trying to catch up. And I just feel like people like us that having all this information and books and things in order to grow. Sometimes I wish, man, my dad was here. I'm like, I'd give him this book or this art. I'm like, I know you hate reading, but listen to this while you're just yelling at people in traffic. I'm like, but maybe teach it or not.
The next time you're thinking about pulling your gun out and shooting someone,
right,
for cutting you off,
just do what Deepak says. Like go for the gap. No, but the material out there, and if you want to learn, if you want to get better, whatever, the information's out there. Yeah. And it's uncomfortable, I think, for especially people at our age to start getting into this in our late 30s, early 40s. Yeah. But I think that's the age where, you have a decision to make, man. You could get more into and just build that calcium, or you could start trying to cut it off and be like, man, spend the latter half of my years thinking like this and searching for the meaning in everything. It's like a game, and it's so fun instead of hands up and being, why are they saying this? Why are they,
the problem with that one is it's not healthy. It's not emotionally, mentally, and therefore physically healthy. So, right. One is it's a contraction. You're going to shorten things. Any way you want to apply that statement is true. That's unfortunate, but that's the way I understand the way we work and thrive. My dad said something the other day. He's really surprised me because, my dad's he's really highly intelligent dude, and he's charming, and but he's a hard man. He's not nearly as hard as he used to be, but he's, he said, I was trying to get him to take this regimen of supplements that I got from this incredible scientist that has really been shown to start to, epigenetically roll back a lot of the aging. And the higher up in years you are, the more dramatic effect it tends to have. And so my dad's like 75 now. And it's literally like, there's like 9 of these potions, and you just put them in they're droppers. You just put like literally 2 dropperfuls in a shot glass every night and you take them. But, you do a test that shows not your biological age. I'm sorry, not your chronological age, but your biological age beforehand. And then you do it again a year later. And what you'll see is you show up a year later, having done this regimen, as younger on your biological age, even though your chronological age is a year older. You're showing up as
after. You should give me the potion. You should give me this.
I'll send you. I'll include a link to it.
Benjamin buttoning it. Trust me. I do not mind that.
I'll include a link in it, and I'll send you.
I love that. Are you kidding me? I'm all about why not.
And so he's having a lot of problems from the jab that he got, that when he rushed to get it, and he's had a lot of issues with like a full body rash that I've spoken kind of briefly and in a peripheral way about on the show, but he had a terrible reaction. He's still dealing with it now, 2 years later, still dealing with doctors trying to get rid of, he knows where it came from. It happened right afterwards, but they don't, of course they're hesitant to even say that to him, but he's like, I don't know if I could take this stuff. I'm like, Dad, these are organic, they're powerful organic subs. They're a mix of different things, but they're all natural. It's not
oils, man. Oils, natural oils.
And he was like, listen, man, he was like, me and your mom, we're old fashioned. We're stuck in our ways. We were taught to believe that, that that industry is life-saving and all this stuff. And he's like, it's hard to get us to think other ways. And I'm like,
again,
I understand,
You're at 75.
Yeah.
Back then, the medical industry was
in
America. I mean, I read this book. When the pandemic hit, the first thing I did was read The Great Influenza, the book about the
big one, the first one. Yeah. Spanish flu.
Because I was like, I guarantee you things repeat. That means we know history. It's just because people don't learn. Everything repeats itself. Let's see what happened. And you can see, man, the exact kind of similar things happen. How it started, blah, blah, blah. And still people not believe exactly. But in that age, we just didn't have social media, but there was still the exact same things going on a lower scale. Now, where's I going with this? Talking about your dad?
Yeah. And he was just, I was just, his awareness of himself. I was like, well, at least he's
right. Exactly. So back then, it's amazing how that's when, John Hopkins started back then the medical industry saved, and it was early. It was like the influenza, the Spanish flu happened after World War I, 1918 until 20, mid-20 something. So the medical industry then were considered saviors because they didn't have a medical industry. It was mostly European and all that. So the medical industry really was building and became, think about the 40s and 50s. It's like, look what we did. And America became something. So your dad grew up when America was surpassing, I think, Europe or becoming just as respected in Europe and it was a young, thriving industry.
Yeah.
Medical, and it was respectful and people were getting better care and they were training. But then I really think, like anything else, at some point, people will look elsewhere to make more money. And then people like our generation, but not even ours, I think, people in ours are half. They could, but we've seen in our lifetime how many more commercials of medicine and this and this.
Oh, man.
So someone like us could be like, I remember the old days, but now you're adding a lot more.
Yeah.
At a faster pace than we ever did. And I turned out okay. So that's where I think it's different. And I think the new kids, depending on how they were raised, they're going to be raised by old parents that you believe the institution.
Yeah.
Or question everything, and which is again it's also the product of time and industry, and that's why I understand your dad, because my dad I guarantee he's not here, but I guarantee my mom did, guaranteed, because they also came from Italy, immigrants, and they're like, they don't even have doctors in our town, so to them they just listen to anything they say. But that's also the problem, because
that is part of the problem.
If like for me as a comedian, if I could walk on stage and everybody will laugh at anything I have to say, like, you're going to get lazy.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm like, I don't really have to write jokes.
I mean, they're going to fucking do it. It's so true.
It's normal. You're going to find fast ways, sneak ways to, and I think the medical industry just became with everybody. And then obviously, and then people aren't dumb, man. Like all, fentanyl, they're pushing that. They're pushing also other stuff that came out. There's a great TV show with Michael Keaton called Dope Stick on Hulu.
Dope Stick. Yeah. No, I know, dude. I was just talking about this. The disconnect.
So when the medical industry is in cahoots with cigarettes and everything or whatever, all these things are coming out 20 years later. So you're like, of course we're not going to believe you anymore.
FDA. It's the words food and drug are in the same
food and drugs cannot
sentence.
Put how much sugar is bad, the percentage. They're like, no, sugar, don't say. Come on, dude. It's like, but everything else you could say. Of course, people are not going to believe you. Like you have to, but also the people that are like, you have to understand why they don't believe you the other side. Like you can't just say, but you have to understand it's all about perspective.
Yeah.
Like I understand everybody's perspective, because if you put yourself in their shoes, of course you're going to think this way. And if you it's crazy.
It's crazy to me when it becomes a religious experience for people, when it really is taken out of this physical realm and put into this, and the way that it's referred to and the way that it is, pedestaled, and you are told, if you question this, basically you're guilty of heresy. You know what I mean? That is the opposite of how science works. And so it's so, just divesting my emotion and energy from it has been the best thing I ever did. And I try to maintain that because it's just not worth it. Like
I agree.
I heard Bruce Lipton talk about this the other day, and he had some great advice. He's like,
another great man. Yeah.
Oh
Bruce
man,
Lipton, another great book.
The Biology of Belief.
The Biology of Belief. Yeah, man,
that's one.
You're right. We talked about that. Oh, shoot, you met him. I saw you.
Yeah, a few times. I'm going to get him on my podcast. He's going to come on a couple months. He's got a crazy schedule, man. He's got a crazy schedule.
He's Bruce Lipton, of course. Oh man.
That's amazing. But he was saying, he was like, listen, don't pick a fight you can't win. And I'm like, fuck.
Yes. No, I could have told you that.
He's like, don't waste your time. Don't
right.
pick a fight you can't win.
Right.
And he's absolutely right.
Yep.
When you are barking up that giant redwood, you know that it's a complete waste of time. And the part of you that, really wants to do it anyway is that part of you needs to be healed because you're not accomplishing anything. In fact, you're going to hurt yourself is what's going to happen. And so I really kind of shifted my mindset after that. And I'm like, I'm done barking up the wrong tree. I'm just not going to do it anymore. It's not worth it. I'm not helping anyone, including myself.
You really should try to see things from everybody's perspective. Like totally. Really. I mean, even it's like, okay, the news, what's their perspective? Making money. Okay. So of course you're going to say whatever you need to say every time you say these words on whether network, this network, these words get more ratings from this network there. So we got to say more of those words. It's like, it's simple. And if people watch that, you can't watch a TV show that makes fun of people. Listen, now I'm vaccinated because I travel and I had to get it. If I could have done it without, I would have chosen without and seen the results and maybe chosen later. But I'm also one to be like, I don't care. I've done worse to my body. I just get whatever. Like I'd also want to be like, all right, if I got to travel, make it easier, go on set, whatever. So that doesn't really bother me. But I understand other people's point of view, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But you can't watch. You have to also understand that if you're watching a program where they're telling you that the other side doesn't get whatever, are horrible, and then the commercial is by the people that but you can't. You have to understand this. It's just common sense.
Yeah.
And to me, it's more of a common sense thing than anything. And I think what like we always learn, there's lessons in everything. So if I really think that in this last 2 years of this whole thing and seeing the division and the kinds of fights that's going on when you're not talking about suffering in the real world and other people, in Sudan or what I'm saying? Like,
no, exactly.
So it's kind of like people are like, well, I'm not going to do it. It's like, even the other side of both. It's like, why are you fighting?
Yeah.
It's just, I really think it was a time that everybody had a chance to really see.
Yeah.
Like really see how ridiculous this is, or just
well, I think a lot of people are seeing it now.
Getting emotional is like don't
because now
just don't pick a fight you can't win. Who cares? It's like in the end, I told a lot of my family members this. Like when you talk to them in Canada, they got so angry because Canada,
I know they're going fucking crazy.
They're going nuts over there, and you feel the anger when I go there, especially Montreal. I mean, in Quebec, they're horrible to the people there. I understand why they want to blow that place up because they were really bad, but the way they were angry and talking, it's like in front of their children who then watch them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, these people, easy to just turn it off. And it sucks that they have those rules, but like Mr. Lipton said, there's no point in you emotionally. You're only hurting yourself, and they think they care. Like if anything, don't give them that satisfaction.
Yeah.
Still be in control. Be like, you want to put on these rules? Watch me still smile. It's like those great stories you hear about people who are in prison. It's like, I thought of it as this. Like, man, if they could do it, if Nelson Mandela could do it and come out, it's like,
that's true. No, it's true.
We all know the reasons why they're doing it are not good intentions or whatever they are. So it's like, let's not be involved in that world, in that fight. Just like Ms. Lim said, it's so far beyond comprehension and anything that we could really do.
And the solution is to create the new. The solution is always to, okay, yeah, you have to know what's going on in order to create something different.
Oh yeah.
For the most part. But at the same time, if you're part of the solution and you're part of this creation, of something that works 100 times better, that is going to be so self-evident. It's going to be so obvious that people who are looking at that and seeing they don't even have to know what's going on over there. They just got to see that clearly that's working better, and they're going to want to become a part of it. And so that's worth putting your energy in, much more so than, being the old system will collapse, but it's like that old expression, you're never going to create something new from the same consciousness that was part of the old. And that's just the way it works. It's true.
But I do think everything is cyclical as well. I mean, the US and Canada, we're young compared to everywhere else, man. Like we're gonna, and the thing is that we're young, but the States are so powerful. And so, but it's cyclical. It's going to take its lumps, and it's going to, things are so repetitive that I do feel there's a shift happening. And I feel like this COVID and everything is the beginning, kind of like the beginning of, I think it's the beginning, like year zero, what's going to happen now that I really do. I mean, with everything, this inflation and then all these wars and then interest, I'm telling you, man, and now they're mandating back this. It's like, it's going to continue. It's not ended. People think it's not finished.
No, it's not.
It's not finished.
No,
it ain't. But this
is a cash cow.
It's not finished, man. But this is how this is the beginning. It's like we get caught up in it and be like, or we could be like, I'm over here, man. And then we're going to be the few to thrive. And like you said, that because once more people think like us, and when one consciousness and everything like us, it's the more.
I mean, a lot of problems are going to dissolve themselves. I tell my kids all the time. I said, back in I think it was the 1910. It was right before the big explosion. But the biggest problem in New York City and in cities around the world was horse shit. Literally horse shit.
I could imagine. Oh my God, I can only imagine that.
So it got so bad that I mean, there was literally steaming piles. I mean, it was like the streets stunk. They had a global meeting. Almost like New York City now. No. Unfortunately, that's more truth to that statement.
I know. That's why I said it. We talked about it.
That's funny. They they had a meeting of the minds. They had a global meeting. They invited all the intelligent heads of these foreign countries because they were like, we got to do something about this problem. The horseshit problem's out of control. And then, the Model T and the factory line went into effect, and they created the first car that was commercial, and the problem was solved. But obviously there was a whole other set of problems that came with the car and all that jazz. But what I'm just saying is it just takes sometimes one thing, I think, to solve what seems to be this unsolvable crisis, because they didn't know what to do with the shit. Yeah. That's crazy, though. I tell my kids all the time, I don't use the word shit over and over with them, but I'm like, listen.
I do. No. But I really believe there's going to be something. And I really the good thing about there being so much media, I really do believe that the more people see it, the more okay, that's enough. I really do. There's more people. They can't extend this without more people getting fed up. I'm seeing it happening. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing people that were like, oh, now be like, that's enough. So it's like, go ahead, push people. But they don't understand. You can only push people so far.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're going to push them so far that most people are going to unite. And it's going to, I just feel like
it's definitely coming to a head.
I feel like it's all going to be okay. I really think it's going to be okay. I really me too. Just have to be patient. And it's like, farmers, every now and then they got to just burn the whole book. Sometimes you just let it. There's a lot of pent up anger. Let it out there. At some point, it's going to burn out. It has to burn out.
There's always chaos. In order to get into a coherent state, oftentimes, if not all, most times, there's going to be what appears to be a chaotic state. In the geometry of whatever it is. But then when that thing comes into a harmony, but it has to go through that. It has to go through its phase.
I agree. I feel like at the tail end, at the end of this chapter, I know it's going to be rough, but at the end of this chapter, I really think, man, people are going to be like, no more of that. I'm hoping, like, no more.
Me too, man.
Because it wasn't good for friendships, families, children seeing their parents yelling because of a mask or a lack of, or whatever, or a politician, or why would you vote for this person, that person, or watching a channel over another channel,
the vitriol
over channels, like I was at someone's house and someone was like, "Oh, sorry, my mother-in-law watches this channel," like a news channel, and I was like, "What are you apologizing? Like, I don't care." Like, it's like people are apologizing for the stuff they watch. And I'm like, man, that's what when you live in that fear, when you're so afraid people come over and to think because you watch this channel or that channel, you're a this person or that person.
Yeah, they do.
It's nuts now. It's become nuts. Or that you want to move here or move there. Like, oh, you want to do this now? It's like, my God, people, like, and so these are the same people that are calling stereotypes and racist. I'm like, you're stereotyping me or them because I'm going there. You're doing the exact same thing. But I think at some point, it's going to be too much. The bubble's going to burst. People always push it too far.
Yep.
And the weak are going to be gone or silent again. We're like, good, you're done. You had your moment. You're quiet.
Yeah.
And it'll be back to, I think it's just pent up anger, and it's going like, like in The Godfather 1, Faust. While he was teaching Michael Corleone how to shoot the thing, he goes, hey, every 10 years, you got to go to the mattresses.
Yes.
You got to get the old bad blood out. And in the world, it's always happened, but now in every country it's happened. There's always been something. But now it's just global because we're all intermingling, and it's just, we see it everywhere, so.
And because of the media, because of the internet, we can literally see it everywhere. And it's, it's a lot.
Dude, if you look at any divisive thing politically or whatever that's happened in this country, in the US in the last, if you look at the newspapers back then, they were doing the exact same thing as they did now. The only thing is now it's everywhere in your face. If you see the Andrew Jackson, like for the, the 16th president slander other, like the stuff they would say about each other, like sleeping with donkeys. Maybe I'm inventing this, but I'm saying, but they did some stuff about their mothers. It's crazy if you look at those times.
Yeah.
They were just as dirty back then, if not dirtier back then, because it was more in your face than now. Now it's everywhere, but it was done in the past. People just don't know it was done like this in the past.
Right.
Just not on your constant feed and all the time.
Right.
And it's like the best reality TV. What they've realized is like, man, people like reality TV. Let's give their own lives like there's the Truman Show or reality TV, and let's make them. It's like people are taking it so serious. It's like it's not. It's not that serious.
And what's crazy is they've had to admit, and this goes into a lot of things, but they've had to admit in court that they are they're an entertainment network, that so CNN and Fox News in the last 2-3 years, both of them had gone through lawsuits. I think with CNN it might have been something about Trump, of course, and then with Fox News it was something about maybe something about, I want to say the Russian collusion. Anyway, the lawsuit said that there was slander, that there was a deliberate defamation, and the judge let them both off and said that they're an entertainment. Their argument to the judge was they're entitled to entertain their people, and their opinions are part of what entertains. So of course they got off. Tucker and Rachel Maddow, all these talking heads are allowed to have an opinion because it's entertainment. But people like Alex Jones, Alex Jones really was trying to give people what you could call the truth, and he was doing it way too well. And Alex Jones became an public enemy number one. Of course, it's taboo to even talk about Alex Jones now because it's, he said that.
Is he
Dude, he's going down. He just had to declare bankruptcy because the judge ruled him liable for defamation because he said on his show that he thought the Sandy Hook shooting was a hoax. So because that apparently was so damaging, they're making his media stupid, company liable.
Who does he got to pay? I mean, it's not nice.
He's got to pay all the families, the surviving families. Why? Because he's Alex Jones and because he spits too much fucking truth and because they have to bring him down. That's why. Oh. Why else? Listen, if CNN and Fox News are speaking opinions for entertainment, why is Alex Jones guilty of defamation and have to declare bankruptcy? Why is he liable? He's not. He said what he thought, and he was set up.
He's not part of a network.
No, exactly. He's independent. Even, I mean, it's just
it's crazy. This in movies, man. We've seen this in movies, in future movies of the future. Like, I mean, dude, look what happened to Dave Chappelle. He got canceled because the employees and this venue's like, okay, and then he goes somewhere else, and then people are mad at this new venue because he saw 2 shows. It's like, man, are you? And I swear to God,
but they can't cancel Chappelle. He's I love
that Netflix is still backing him. I hope Netflix continues. I hope Spotify continues to back him.
Me too.
And Joe, because regardless, I really love is Russell Brand.
Oh, I love Russell Brand. Yeah, he's on fire, dude.
Dude, that guy went from 4. I remember we started following when he was 4.1.
Dude, I started following when he was 1.4, and I was like, oh. and then Joe went off YouTube, and he started pumping out those videos, and I just watched them. I was like, damn, it's up to 2.5, and then it was up to 3, and I was like, holy shit, man.
He's like almost 6 now.
God, he is a masterful with the way he, narrates and orates around what's happening without speaking too much truth to where he becomes a target, but bringing up the issues in a way that is contemplative and begs the question.
Both sides.
He
slashes both sides. I love that whole stuff. He always goes after Trudeau, which I love. I sent to all my friends when he goes after Trudeau.
Yeah. No, it's great. Well, that's because Trudeau's a hypocrite.
Yeah. I mean, in speaking of being conscious, and it's not political party or anything, because I will vote for whoever I think I like better, not for a party. I've never even voted in Canada. I think I voted once. So it's not like I'm really into this, but being conscious is kind of like, he piggybacks off the issues of the US because they're hot issues, and then people in Canada follow the US. So it's like when this whole obviously sad thing happened at the elementary school, he the next day does this whole thing in Canada. We don't have a gun problem in Canada. Yeah. And he's like, we're gonna do it. It's like, it's like, dude.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean,
it's like, man, why? It's almost like,
don't get me started on that, man.
It's an obvious piggyback. It's like name drop. I know. I'm gonna it's like, handle your country's problems. You have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Let the US handle their problems. We don't have that issue, and it's kind of like.
Let me tell you something, man. You don't even want to know my opinion. I mean, I have a very, very strong opinion on what's happening right now and what happened in Texas. And I've been telling anyone with ears who is around me who will listen, I'm like, they couldn't move the needle with Vegas with what happened. So they know that there's no amount of adults that are going to become a statistic that are going to get people to demand that the laws be changed. Okay. That's all I'm saying. So you can look to what will come next, and make no mistake about it. These people don't care. They have an agenda and they want to stay in power, and they have an end goal that they have to meet. They got people cracking the whip on them. They're compromised. You know what I mean? These people are doing things that are doing out of fear.
As soon as you walk in, you're a Congress. Did you see that documentary Drain the Swamp on HBO?
No.
As soon as you get into Congress, the first thing you get, depending on how much money you could bring, that's where they put you in whatever, because you also be assigned to some kind of work group, whatever it is. You know, so the most powerful ones were the ones where, you know, Pelosi, Schiff, all that. But the more money you could bring, the higher your position is, because a lot of that money goes to the party.
Right.
So imagine, you should watch the documentary. It was like,
I'll check it out.
It is insane. That's why they wanted to like drain, because like as soon as you get in, you have meetings with potential donors, potential ads every Tuesday. Go meet that, and they even tell you, well, you don't have any kid. Go to this meeting. You'll meet donors there.
Yeah.
Everybody in both parties.
Yep.
And depending on how well you are is how you move up the ranks.
That's it. That's the problem.
It is. They stay in Washington. They go home on the weekend, and Congress people are in power for 2 years. So as soon as you get in, you got to hurry up and start. Yeah. So it's like, and then the senators for 6 years and the president 4. I was like, what is this? It's like, it's the system that they also have to change a bit.
Yeah.
But you cannot take anything seriously if you know everybody in that room that's like, I hate you, whatever. I'll take money from people.
It's it.
Except for Bernie and
list.
Trump. Okay, except for Bernie and Trump, the two people that should have. You know what I'm saying? That were actually going to be head to head and not Hillary. Bernie and Trump,
or should have been.
Or should have been head to head, because Bernie and Trump, that's who the real people, the two people wanted. They didn't have their own money. So
that's right.
So
that's nobody raises money like the Clintons.
But that's how the vice of the country is, because it really organically would have been Bernie.
It would have been, man.
And Trump. And that just shows how the vice of the country is.
It's incredible, you know.
Which I understand both point of views. You have to understand both point of views. One's like, no, too much government, and one's like, man, too much of the other people. I get both.
Yeah.
You have to get both. And it's like,
but why can't we get, like, why do we live in a country that insists on drawing a line in the sand? Why can't we get, you know, Bernie Sanders camp with Trump's camp and say, listen, lock yourselves in a room like they do in the Vatican, and don't come out until you until you make a fucking agreement that works for both people. You know what I mean? We don't want, you ain't coming out until the smoke comes out, you know, whatever color we need. Period. You know,
I don't know,
like,
dude. You know what I'm starting to think, like, seeing again, like, just thinking about history and things. I really think every country in history tried to be the US, and it just didn't work. I mean, at some point, like, humans' natural instinct, if you're not conscious, is greed. It's the natural one. And in every, dude, even when you see about the movies about the French Revolution or any revolution, it always ends up being there's way more poor than the few rich.
Yep.
And then the poor take over. Or it always in every, I mean, because it's just that, and that's what they should talk. It's like, listen, do we want to end up, because and they have to find a balance, because you also don't want to end up where being Cuba.
That's right. That's or North Korea. The opposite side of it is
right. So you got to be like, guys, it's almost like George Washington did. Like, they have to kind of do something like George Washington, when after 8 years, like, I'm done. People are like, what?
Yeah. They're like, no, stay. He was like,
And what was the quote from King George? Like that, or somebody said that must be the greatest man in the history of the world, because for you to give that up, set a precedent. So maybe, I mean, if this is me and you talking with like hope and dreams and like, but
that is what we're doing.
And think like on those terms, historically, like, listen, people think we're not going to survive. People are making fun of us. Let's try to make sure if we don't at least get to Cuba, North Korea, or the revolution, where it's too much of a separation of rich and poor. But also, you don't want the rich to pay for everything either, because you want people to work for their money.
There's a happy look. The whole experiment.
There has to be a happy.
There has to be a happy medium.
I agree with you.
Because right now the divide is growing. Okay, the problem with capitalism isn't inherent in capitalism. The problem is greed. The problem is, you know what, and it starts as far back. And Bruce Lipton said this the other day, and he blew my fucking mind. But he was telling me how, you know, it started with Darwin. Darwin wasn't even the first person to put forth the theory of evolution, but Darwin was being groomed by the elites. And they took something that was sent to Darwin. I forgot his name. But he's the one that put forth the theory. Then Darwin was like, yeah. And they made Darwin change the wording to, and it's this, the statement itself is it's about the superiority of races and it's survival of the fittest. And it basically says it's in all our nature to do whatever the fuck we have to do. And it's okay, as long as we're looking out for us and ours, and it started with Darwin and this notion that there can be a justification for the complete annihilation of another class of species, or people, or whatever it is.
You said he was influenced to come.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people, Bruce Lipton is like, Darwin, I don't want to say he was a fraud, but he was not who history has propped him up to be. He was being groomed by the elites. Because of he was the science voice they needed. And so when the theory of evolution came down, they took it, they tweaked it, and they put it forth. And it's like the origin and race. It's so racist, dude. I'm going to show a clip when we edit this thing.
Already just the first few sentences, like, yeah.
But
guaranteed it would make sense why they would, dude, they changed laws.
Survival of the fittest.
The richest people made marijuana legal and made it, a class 1 criminal drug. Do you understand? It's just all crap. And dude, they're worried about, it's like, all these woke people worried about this and WNBA girl in prison with weed, and there's like hundreds of thousands over here. The
Biden administration is
fix your own bed.
They're trying to get that woman
bed first, then you clean the house. It's a simple thing. Fix your own bed.
This is almost, I mean, it's insane. I mean, they're literally trying to move hell and high water to get that woman out of jail.
Which I understand,
which is fine.
Other stuff you just wait.
But what about all the people in jail here?
Right. It's like, man, come on, dude. And that's just for show. And if you don't see that's just for show, a black lesbian woman, come on, dude. Which again,
yeah. Nothing against black lesbian women. They're all great.
In a Russian prison, I get it, but it's like, listen, just be there for a year or two, and we'll come to get you. We got to get the people here. Like, you shouldn't have brought weed in Russia, anyways. If you know
what the fuck were you thinking?
But I heard that maybe I read somewhere that it could be dirty. Like they'd allowed him to, and now out of the blue, kind of like maybe Russia's playing dirty, kind of making it like
Dude, Russia and the United States have the most fucked up relationship. I mean, like, our two countries we could do such great things together. I mean, look at the space program, the things that we collaborate on.
Dude, Russians are some of the most brilliant mathematicians and scientists in the history of the world. They're the most brilliant.
But dude, again, greed.
Yeah, like Eckhart told you, there's pain bodies. This is a pain body of the U.S. against Russia. Yeah. Then there's the male against female. So there's so many. I think there's so many pain body battles going on now. I think people that are upset all the time. It's like, I'm upset now because I'm a woman, so I'm upset for women, and I'm a liberal, upset with liberals. So they're putting their pain bodies in all these things and fighting all these issues. And meanwhile, their life, they're not concentrating on building relationships, building their life, calming their minds, finding.
But they don't even know why the problem is there's no consciousness. They don't even. I mean, it's like literally Pavlov and the whistles, and they know now. They primed people. They primed people their whole life.
There's on the internet for this,
dude. Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, and they know how to blow the whistle, man.
Ago, they'd be like, listen, there's going to be a company that's going to just seek out attention and commotion. They'll know how to do this just by a math problem.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll know how to get under it. It's like, really, whatever. Dude, I think I mentioned the other day something about, man, I could use new Raycon headphones. All of a sudden I got an ad for Raycons. I was like, did I type it in or did I say it and it came in? I'm not sure, but I could have typed it in. Maybe I was just,
you wouldn't have. I mean, those bastards, dude. And they take that information and it's worth more than gold. So not only are they profiting, off their technology that is constantly listening, but like I've done it, dude. I literally said to my friend, I was like, I said to my son, I got to get an app that can recognize flowers. Literally 2 hours later. Now, I didn't even think my phone was around, but I got an ad for an app that recognizes what the flower is and tells you, like almost like the one that you'd use for minerals and rocks and stuff. I was like, son of a bitch. I didn't type that. I said that, and it was listening.
Like I said, I think the pandemic is starting of a shift in human evolution or whatever you want to call it, because it could be we could be
it might
evolution. Get. But think about it. The pandemic made us more reliable on our phones, on devices, on technology. No more auditions going personally, Zoom meetings, blah, 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 this. People go work from everywhere. We're now attached to a device. Dude, we used to watch these things when we were small. Like, next is going to be inside. They're like, well, since I have it all the time, I might as well put it in my hand.
Right.
If I have it in my hand, could you just put it here and then maybe a hologram? Like, dude,
no, and they know that.
Not crazy. Dude, Minority Report. I'm going to go back in time and say, who knows, man? But I see it. The difference is that we're participating in it and not being driven and manipulated by it. I use it, but I gotta admit, sometimes I'm definitely like, man, I just spent an hour over here.
Yeah.
But I listen.
Oh, totally, dude.
I struggle with this, but it's supposed to be a struggle. It's like a muscle. It's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah.
But as long as we're aware when we weren't aware, already there's a win. And then the more times you do that, hopefully you just live in the Eckhart Tolle state of nothing bothers me, right? But I listen to his podcast every week. I love that, man.
Yeah, he's awesome, dude. You know, and I think, again, bringing it back to the kids is the great thing about, and what you said about our generation is, some of us, you know, who have done the work and healed enough, we can take what's great about the old. You know,
we have that, which is so rare.
We need and bring that to today, you know, because it's great with what's going on, but again, there has to be a balancing act. You know, kids need to learn to tie their fucking shoes. Kids need to learn certain things, you know, and that's part of their.
And they need a kick in the butt, meaning they need to learn how to lose and how to take one on the chin every now and then. They need to learn that and need to learn that it's okay. And it's the only way you learn and get better to take one on the chin. You will not get better unless you fail. So fail is not bad.
And we have a society that this is, again, I mean, it's always been like this, but today it's become even more taboo. We empathize so much with our kids that we don't want to see them suffer at all. But the problem is there's a difference between, you know, letting a child understand that if you try something and you fail, you're just that much closer to doing it the next time. Yeah, it may be disappointing for you, but you use that as fuel to get back up and get to the top of the hill. That's it. You know what I mean? That's life. And so by depriving them of that, because if you're not healed enough to recognize the necessity of that, right, then you're not gonna let your kid feel that, because you can't take it, because the part of you that's unhealed sees that in you feel that's too deep of a wound, right? And I used to be, you know, a little bit like this way back when my son was just a baby. You know, it was hard for me to allow him to experience certain things. I always wanted to pacify him because I was still so unhealed. But then you learn and you mature and you start to understand that some of these things are necessary. But that's what I love about what you said is, you know, it's awesome being able to stand in the middle and pull the best of both into the lives, you know,
man, because there are some great ideas and philosophies and lessons from both pools, just like from both sides of any political party, just like from both sides of any discussions. There has to be
nuance, you know?
Yes. And you need debate to figure things out. You need it. You can't live without it. It's like people are trying to eliminate debate.
Dude, they want control, you know? I mean, like, and so the more they can propagandize people into demanding it, do you understand?
Yeah.
They know that the secret lies in getting people to do it for them. That as government, they don't want to lose their power or popularity. They don't want to overreach. So they're going to create what they need to create and get people outraged enough to demand it. Free, you had this whistleblower from Facebook. What kind of whistleblower demands more censorship?
Right.
I'm like, wait, what? You know what I mean? Like some things are just so ridiculously obvious and orchestrated that it's become laughable to even turn the news on for me. I see the things happening. I'm just like, how do people still believe this? But if you're still plugged into the matrix, I guess, it's like the paradox. It's all you know. So you believe it.
I agree, man.
So what is the great, and look, if you don't have anything that qualifies, of course, that's not a big deal or anything, but was there a moment, is there an experience you had that it was like, holy shit, like how I can't explain that, like that was really like a mystical moment, or maybe it was a moment where some people had experiences with ETs and UFOs and dreams, or sometimes in physical reality. Was there a moment that really just kind of like blew you away, that like a supernatural moment?
Would this count as a thinking about it later on? Like for example, I didn't think about to make it like a supernatural, like in the moment, but now when you look back, especially because, well, I'll tell you how it started. I took mushrooms, and
I love it. That's a great start. Go ahead.
That's a great start. Mushrooms with my buddy Rishi. He was over there in Newport Beach. It was my second time doing it. I did it on my birthday last year for the first time.
Nice.
It was a smaller amount, and I was like, man, this was amazing. And I said, I want to do it again next time, but I want to be prepared. I want to journal it. I want to go in with an intention. Like I watch documentaries, and I want to see what are the craziest albums that I could listen to. So I listened to Dark Side of the Moon from cover to cover. It was insane. I have everything written down. Like when I went to certain moments, it was nuts. So at the tail end of this, it was I was just asking, like, what's my next step creatively? And I basically had the pull and the idea to do my one-man show then.
Nice.
And it was, I just kept on writing down, jump, jump, jump. You'll build your wings, jump. And that's awesome. That's when the restaurant, when I was working at a restaurant, I said, yeah, I'm not going to come back. And then I wrote the show. Want to do it for one time in my hometown of Montreal. I ended up selling it out like 500 people. And then from there, I've just been touring it from coast to coast of Canada. And I kept on writing in my journal is be vulnerable, be more vulnerable, be more vulnerable. I'll never forget that.
Wow.
Be more vulnerable, be more honest. And the one thing about my one-man show is it's the most vulnerable I've ever been. It's the most successful thing I've ever, not successful because you can't base on success.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because like I'm touring it, it's kind of a success. But when I get messages from people saying, I got a message from this lady, she's saying, Guido, I just want to let you know that my husband, after watching your show, saying, I'm going to be better. Because my show, though it's about my life, I do tie in a very spiritual thing that people all love. And without knowing, they all call me like, what book was that you read? What else do you read? So, and I told my wife, and I wrote down in my thing, I said, why don't you start like trick people into, but in a smart way, into being more conscious. Trick them. Why not?
Right.
And that's my goal of entertainment, tricking people into being more conscious. And it's manipulative, but I think it's a good way. I think the universe will be like, oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. Because
well, we get tricked into it one way or the other, you know?
If I'm entertaining them, and throughout there's, because throughout this whole show, there's me not wanting to read it because my wife buys me a book. I'm like, we don't read. Like you Canadians, we don't read. We don't, Italians, we don't own bookstores. You guys own bookstores and used bookstores, and like, we don't do that. So I kept on saying I don't read, and she goes, but it's a Deepak Chopra book. It's about, because the whole play, I talk about my dilemma of wanting to be an artist, but I graduated from an education. I graduated with a degree in business, and my dad wanted this, but I want this, but my dad wants this. And she kept on buying me this book, and I worked at the restaurant, but that's where I met her. So anyways, you're talking about these aha moments. It all ties into the same thing. So I toured the show. It told me to write the show and be more vulnerable, because the whole show is really entertaining, shows about my life. I'm very vulnerable. I show how I was before and then during this whole process. And it has a very spiritual element of these books that helped me throughout my journey, that people always email me to ask what those books are. So that's where I'm like, I even wrote before I do every show, like have a specific intention. And I learned that also from Gary Zukav. I said Michael Zukov before, but it was Gary Zukov, his name. I said my intention of this was to make everybody take stock about their lives and call someone close to them and hug them.
Nice. That's a great intention.
That's all I want.
Yeah. It's gorgeous.
And it's a one-man play. And that was it. And when I told my director, he's like, huh? Like, yeah. Yeah, like, that's your intention. Usually be like, make people laugh, make it the best show, make the best. I'm like, that's what I want. That's
a great intention, man, and that definitely counts. You know what I'm saying? That's like a download. People refer to that like you got a download. So you got all the information, but you had to. It was like you just had to unpack it, right? And so it's like DNA. It's all contained in there.
And when and when I did, and then this all came from psilocybin, and then, but also in me, because if it's not in psilocybin, it was in me.
Right.
That's why I tell people they got to try it, because whatever you think, it's in you. And that's when I realized, man, there's so much good in me. I'm actually a really good guy. And if my intention is to make people call their close ones, and I was like, man, I have this in me. I was like, why am I not showing this more? Instead of you crossed me, things are going to go bad.
Yeah, how dangerous I can be.
And it's just like, it's disgusting, because in Stoicism, they also teach you the most disgusting emotion is anger. That's the weakest emotion. So basically, when I thought I was strong, I was weak all those years. That also pisses me off as an Italian. No.
There's irony for you right there.
That's
the definition.
No, but and then, then doing this play, what I realized, because I talk about how my life is great, how I moved across, from Montreal across the continent with my wife and beautiful kids. And it's been a struggle, working as a waiter and everything, but I'm doing it with no attachments. Like I did not come here to succeed. I came here for the ride. And that's why I'm still here smiling and doing well, and other people left. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what I learned through all these books and all these things, but really feel it and really play the game, because it's fun. It's, Gary Zukav calls it Earth School, the Earth School. Think about it as a school. It gives you something bad. This has got to be good. And then when I learned that way, so here's another. So where the aha illuminating? One was the mushrooms that told me about the intention to be more vulnerable. Vulnerability is the biggest aha thing I've ever discovered. For me, it's made me a better comic, a better writer, a better man. That's the biggest aha. Vulnerability. It's changed everything in my life. My writing.
Same here, man. Same here.
My writing and my
exact same catalyst. Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And it makes me emotional just thinking about the years I've had that hidden. And it's like, fudge, man, I could have been nicer to so many people, but whatever it is. But I still got to pay those karmic debts. And maybe this is why things happen with that. But I'm okay with everything. I made my bed. I'll deal with it, right? But I know things could change. You just continue with this, and you could always make things. I mean, you will make things great, right? That was the first thing. So the second thing that happens, like while I'm doing all this play, talking about my life, while I'm doing a play about my life, I realize one thing about my life. Think about this. This is all true. I got kicked out of my university graduation, when I graduated from university, I had came back from New York, from my, was in New York. I did the acting workshop with you, and then I stayed there. I was doing some plays, but then my visa expired and I went back. And I went back to school. I said, I guess I got to quit acting, right? But I did really good in school, but I didn't want to stay in school. I graduated in business, and I didn't want to look to go find a job in the business world. I still had this pull towards showbiz. So I was really confused at that point. I went to my graduation and I was smashed, like done. And then somebody at my table, and there's like old people talking about, hey, the education is the best, blah, blah. And someone's like, man, this is boring. Someone should do something. So I just ran up and pulled a Kanye West, right? I was like, these guys are boring, party, gay, white people. Like,
it fucking sucks.
Yeah. And I'm like 30 something when everybody else is in their early 20s. I'm the old guy, don't forget. I did acting and everything.
Oh, man.
So I get kicked out of the venue. I don't know where I don't know where my car is. I call my best friend, Dexter, who's a manager, who at that time was a manager at a food and at a restaurant in a hotel. He takes me out to McDonald's to sober me up because I'm a degenerate. And then I was like, I don't know, man. I don't feel like I want to act, but my dad's going to kill me. So he's like, you know what? Why don't you come work for me until you decide this? I said, I mean, you could be a room service delivery guy. I'm like, all right. I go there the first day, I meet my wife. So.
Wow. So. See, you had to be you. You had to. I mean, you think you were acting out. You wouldn't have. You know what I mean? Like, who knows if you would have ended up there and then? But this is my experience as well, man. And it's also profound.
Why not say yes to something? Why not say yes? You know what? Mine's like be a room service delivery boy.
Yeah, let's book that.
Yes.
There's so much wisdom in what you just
said.
Like,
man, if I wasn't a degenerate, that one night, I would have never met the woman that this does not happen without her.
Yeah.
None of this.
Dude, it's remarkable. That's definitely
it's spiritual relationship we have.
Yeah.
As you have with yours. It's obvious.
Yeah.
So it's that's another aha. That's kind of like, and that made me think of and also my dad's death. If he would have never died, I would have never moved here as well.
So many things.
Two of the kind of one embarrassing or down of my life and what I do, and my dad's death ended up being the catalyst, the ground zero, if you will, for the best building of foundations. So
it's huge.
Those two ahas mean that big aha means like, you know what? When things don't go my way, the first thing I think about now is, I wonder what this means. Yeah. And it's exciting. And it's so exciting. And living that way is kind of psychotic because people are like, why are you happy? I'm like, I don't know, but usually something good's going to happen. I don't know about this.
Trust me on this one.
Yeah. So those are the two. I know it took a lot of time to get those things, but those are, I have to put the whole context in. But
no, they were worth every second, dude. They were great.
That gave me the idea for the show, and then because I did the show over and over again. Not only did I realize I never got over my dad's death because I act out my dad's death and I go through it in the show, and I realized that 2 days after my dad passed away, we found out she was pregnant, so we had a baby, we got married, and we moved here. We had another kid, so I never really dealt with it. So I was dealing with it on stage over and over again, and that's why I stopped doing the show. I was going to tour for another year, but I stopped it because I was like, oh, I'm over this now. Like I'm good. So there's no need to tour because it'll just be for money, and I don't want to do it just for money anymore. Not anymore. It wasn't about money, and I stopped the 2023. I was going to do more, but I'm not doing it because it would be only for money at that point, and I don't want to start doing that because that's when bad stuff happens. But
you'll do it again when you're ready if you decide. I think everything has its time.
Exactly. But I really want to do stuff because how I feel. Like I want to do it because of this intention, and if the intention serves others, I realize with the show, it always works. It really always does.
Intention is powerful, bro. It sets the stage for all experience. Intention is so, and as human beings, we have this incredibly potent ability to create. create a physical experience with intention. And people who don't realize that, they kind of haphazardly go into situations, not realizing, that, okay, this intention, they leave themselves open to a lot of random occurrences. And then they feel like the victim that they've set themselves up to be. But intention is, people who have mastered intention, they are the secret. They are living the secret.
Yeah, and it's so hard because we have 60, 70,000 thoughts a day. If you could get all of those thoughts with amazing intentions, that's 70,000 beautiful, unselfish intentions a day. That's my end target.
So you gotta have goals,
60,000 unselfish. But but you see how simple it is, but it's so.
And hard. So complicated, but so simple. Yeah.
But it's so beautiful because it's simple, and we can all do it. We just have to declassify our brains or our way. And we know now the brain is, because Joe Dispenza, it's elasticity, and we could change it. Yeah. And also through the biology of belief. The great things we've learned about all the sensors that are around every cell. There's all these it's like, man,
and that's why these conversations, I think, are so important, because we don't have an education system in place that teaches some of these things that are so fundamental to the human experience. And by not teaching young people these things, we do them a great disservice. And we're putting them in a race with their shoes are tied together. They don't understand how reality functions.
But the school system is built to serve the government.
Exactly. And people don't want to admit that. They don't, because they're products of it. Of course, you know what I mean? Like any good.
But it's also normal for a government to be like, okay, we got to do a school where it's normal for somebody. It's also normal for the government to want that as well.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's like, listen, I got to coach. Let's just make them learn this. I'm not saying anything bad, but it makes, if the country was 4 million, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
But when it's 350 million and growing, it's exponentially.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, listen, man, let's make sure most of them know they have to do all these things. So
yeah. Or else it's a risk.
Think about it.
Look at China, dude. If you interview, I watch interviews with young people in China, and you ask, you can ask 10 out of 10, you can ask 100 out of 100. And so you're going to get the same answer every time. They can't imagine a world where the government wasn't taking care of them. And that's how they put it, and that's what they want. That's good conditioning. Obviously China has a lot more people than us. But, when you ask the young people, and they're like, of course the government has to do that. Who else would take care of us? You know what I'm saying? That is like, why I'm like, wow, they can't even imagine a world where the government is not, you know what I mean? That's crazy.
Before, it's like when you grow up in that.
Yep.
And also when you're 1.5 billion, I think you need one person in charge. I think that's a way too many people going around with their own opinions, or to the States, everywhere their own opinions. That's enough. But yeah, no, I think you're just used to that. But I think it's almost, I'm wondering, it's almost like Canada, they have a lot of say if the government, everything. And that's why I like it here a lot, but I do think some things here the government should be in charge of and could help out people. But some things I like, just mind your business. So I've always said Canada and the US should get together and discuss and be like, okay, let's take some of your good ideas and we'll take some of your bad ideas. I think that, but I think it's just conditioning because, for example, I've been conditioned that the US healthcare is crap, which it's expensive. Compared to Canada, I get it. But I got to tell you something. If I could work hard and save the money, I really love the fact that I can get an MRI in one day. I like that. Because in Canada, I've seen the other providers that'll take me a year to get that. I could be dead. Maybe I'm exaggerating a year, but you know what I'm saying? But I like this fact. And it sucks that, again, money's involved, but it's like, but I like the option.
But there's got to be a happy medium again. Exactly. It's like, let's use a little bit of common sense.
Why does it always be black and white? I agree, dude. Well, I think me and you are more like that because we were like black and white people. We're like, that didn't serve us well. So we're just taking this one little, because, what's the name? I also love to, they're the three amigos, Bruce Lipton,
Joe and Greg.
Joe and Greg Braden.
Yeah.
So Greg, his great book, The Divine.
Oh, they love that book, The Divine Matrix. Yeah.
He said, I love what he said. It was everything is a mirror. Everything in life is a mirror, from small consciousness to big consciousness. So it's like, basically, I think people like me and you who grew up in a world where everything was black or white, and we're trying to find the gray, and we're, living in the gap, as you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like we're a little mirror of the bigger government or the bigger country, or the world is what it is. It's like, Greg Brand says, like, take like the, like a hologram, like any hologram, if you break it, and those little pieces is the whole hologram.
That's right. So I was just telling my son this. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's more people, the conscious. I hear Eckhart Tolle all the time, and Joe, like the community of consciousness, whether you learn
growing.
From all these people, Eckhart, Deepak, Greg, Bruce, they're all this. It's all the same.
Dude, I think Joe Dispenza has 1 million followers on YouTube, or subscribers. I was like, holy shit, Joe. When did you, like, last I checked, it was like 400, and now I think it's up to 1 million, unless I'm tripping. But I was like, damn, that's huge.
The world now,
yeah.
Like I said, something's happening.
Yeah, man. It's beautiful.
And so two things are growing. Think about, dude, this is going to blow your mind. Two things are growing, right? The consciousness world, people like Joe Dispenza and all these people that are trying for you to get to self-diagnose, self-reflect, and use your own power within to solve everything out there. They're all trying to do that, which I think they're all doing it in their own way, and anybody that shits on them are assholes. And why not? Yeah, you got to take money when you do this, because it's a lot of time you got to think and try to formulate these things.
Man.
Because look at me and you talk. These books help people like me and you, and we're talking about them, and you have them on your line. And I can't believe I know someone that's talking to Bruce. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, let those people be those people. But so there's those type of people that are trying to get attention, and then there's the other people who are trying to break all that are trying
to hold on. Yeah.
It's something happened, man. There's a crack, and they're getting followers, and the people that are fear, or that are people that are like, it's the people. No, sorry. Scratch that. Sorry, because it was about two worlds. So the consciousness world is growing, and you know what other world I just saw is growing? I'm thinking apps about it. Mental health and depression and therapists are on the rise. Yeah. There's like an app. No, you just call, and you don't have to show your face if you don't want. It's like, it's more like so mental health and spiritualism. Those are two things. I mean, like suicide and like people with mental health issues. So serious mental health issues are growing, and the conscious, it's like at the end, we're going to have these two choices, dude. Like, it's like in old school, another, like the Ice Age, there's always these. Yeah. Going to the mattresses, like I tell you. It seems like it's getting so crazy to the world that, or you're going to lose your mind, or like Deepak and everybody says, and Eckhart Tolle is like, when you're at the bottom is where you could get the most from what me and you are doing. And when you'll understand it the most. And we would have never got it this amazing. We could talk about, dude, could you imagine me and you talking about like this 20 years ago?
No, of course not. No, it would have been, it was impossible. I mean, dude, I try to watch a movie like that I watched 25 years ago, and I can't even watch a movie. I can't, like, you try to watch a movie that was made 30. I mean, talk about the evolution of consciousness. Just look at the shit that we watched as entertainment, and we were like, this is, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were some great movies, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I still love Cobra and Rocky IV.
Dude, I mean, come on. I just watched Rocky IV again with my kids. I'm like, this is a movie, all right?
Still marked for death. I'm like, yeah, it's dangerous out there, kids.
That's right.
We don't know.
Sometimes you got to climb a mountain.
Screw faces out there. No, but
Classic.
I really feel like those are the two schools that are growing, man. There's a lot of mental health talk, and a lot of new consciousness talk. I feel like we have to choose, man, because the world you're going to go nuts if you don't find consciousness. I really think it's that. If you don't find the center, you're going to go nuts. And like, that's where I was. It's like, I got to go here or I'm going to murder people.
Dude, I mean, I was a mess. You know, I was so filled with self-loathing, and I was I was just tired of being stuck in my skin. Literally, like I was like,
yeah, a lot of people.
And so I found, thank God I found, Joe Dispenza's meditation techniques, and I found a way to quiet that voice, make peace with that voice. And now, that voice is, I mean, it's virtually non-existent. It certainly doesn't, I have nothing in me that is like that, my goal and my end game is, no matter what, to instill that into my children so they never have to feel that way for no reason. It's so self-inflicted. But and then also what you said, like I think of the law of resonance and or also known as the law of attraction, depending on who you're talking to. Like so we see this great polarity happening, and it seems to be getting, what's the word? Crescendoing, right? Especially when things happen like the pandemic and all this stuff, and it's causing people to some people are vibrating faster with it and other people are slowing down, and it's causing, eventually what's going to happen is it's going to, either people are going to sync up, or the people that aren't sync are they're going to fall away. And
exactly.
That's just, that's physics, that's what's happening, and that's what's going to happen. And the good news is, in the end, that will create something beautiful, no matter what,
It always does.
Yeah.
My two aha moment always does. It always
I have
does.
so many just like that. Yeah.
At the end of this, people say, at the end of this, it'll be good, man. And I don't watch the news. I'm not part of any of the fight. I choose to live in the place. It's also, if you don't like it, move.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Move where you live in a place where you don't have to discuss anything you don't want to discuss. You have the freedom in this country to move wherever you want.
That's right.
So
I'm gonna mind you one last more piece of wisdom, my friend, before I let you go. And what I want to ask you is, I talk a lot about programming on my show, and we know we have kids, and we know now, from being re-educated on these things that, people can be programmed just like a computer. And you could take a computer out and it looks great, fantastic, shiny, new, sleek machine. You open it up, you turn it on, the fucking thing is all screwed up. It's bugged out. You know what I mean? What good is it? Right? If it doesn't have the right program. So if we know we can be programmed, right? If you could write a few pieces of code that we could slip into the consciousness of humanity that would kind of improve and make way for a greater level of joy and ease into the human experience, what would you offer people? What would your code be?
Oh man, first, listen more, talk less. Vulnerability is the key to everything. Trust me. Definitely, I would think the most important thing you have to do moment by moment, day by day, moment by moment, is to be aware of the things that are in your control and those that aren't, and make decisions based on that. Those are the three things.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's excellent, Guido. Yeah, man, this has been incredible, man. It's so great to catch up with you like this,
awesome.
And have
this has been great, man. I haven't got to talk about stuff like this on podcasts, which is nice to talk about this other side of me. Instead of
beautiful, man. You've evolved to be, I mean, it's incredible when I think about where we were and where we are now, man. It's just so cool. It's awesome.
It really is, man. And I think if we can continue doing this with, because I know you're still, I suppose you're still writing movies. You're still going to continue doing your.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man, this conversation with you has been inspiring to me, and I'm thinking about, I was thinking about acting while you were talking, and thinking about how awesome it would be to do a play with you. And because, I love theater is what we were trained in. I mean, I love making movies and doing TV as well, more movies than TV, but but you know, I'm certainly still working on a few films, and you know, I got a phone call this week about a budget which apparently, you know, is greenlit, and so we're going to see. It's a film about consciousness, so you know, I'm interested.
Listen, I'm telling you, man, because you're an artist, continue. If we could find a way, like I'm doing through my stand-up, if we could find a way to spread this without them knowing, it's a way to use our art in the most fun way ever. And keep on doing what you're doing, man. I think you could do it. I mean, I know you could do it. I mean, you've done it until now, and
thanks, bro.
And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your evolution as well, dude. I mean, you've come a long way, man, and I'm really proud to call you my friend, dude. Really
the feeling is absolutely mutual, bro. It's been real. I appreciate your time. You know, give my love to the missus and kiss the kids.
Thank
for
you.
me.
You too.
And,
kiss the kids and your wife, and kiss Bruce Lipton for me. Tell him there's a guy called Guido Cocomello that's a huge fan of yours.
I will. I'm gonna tell him next time I see. Dude, my wife keeps telling me, she's like, I can't believe you know someone called Guido.
I'm gonna send a picture of me in his book and go like this. Saved my life. You're like, this guy's a psycho.
I'm gonna tell him, man. I want to have him on. I'll send you a link when I get him on.
I'd love to see that.
Awesome. All right, brother. You take care. Best of luck to you. Thanks.